feel like the barrier between work and play is kind of gone, right? A lot of people talk about this, but I'm actually seeing it in my day-to-day life of just like, when does work stop and play start?
Well, Satya Nadella said this in terms of you need, in his opinion, I think he said along the lines of you need a commute, you need a separation of office from home. And but yeah, look, for some people it works. I think there was a poll which said, do you prefer working at home 5 days a week or somewhere in between? Most people say, I prefer 4 days a week from home or 3 and go into the office 1 or 2 days a week.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd do that, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all right. What's on the agenda for today?
Okay, so agenda for today. It's a topic that me and you now, we're both 28 years of age. We've done a few years, obviously people can check out our backgrounds on rationalvc.com, quick plug. And we get approached occasionally from people asking us, younger people asking us for advice of breaking into tech, breaking into finance, and obviously at the intersection of tech and finance is becoming a VC. Should I become a VC? How do I become a VC? What do you think of becoming a VC? What about tech? What about being an operator, programmer, this, that? So, yeah. So what's on the agenda?
You want to pick up on that can of worms?
I thought, look, let's record a podcast.
Yeah.
Let's be straight to the point. Let's help these wonderful people. Yeah, and you just put it out as one episode. Leverage media.
Yeah, very
Leverage media to put it out, the message to many people at once. So I'll let you start off with your views on, let's say I'm an 18-year-old guy and I'm planning to go to university and I don't know what to study. What would you study is the first question.
Yeah.
Secondly, once you've answered that, is I'm a 22-year-old gal and I've just graduated, and I don't know, like I want to go into tech or finance, but I don't know. And I've heard about this VC thing, sounds cool. Should I do a couple of internships or just hustle hard to get an internship or get in somewhere at the junior level? And my goal is to eventually become a VC. Should I? What do you think?
So at the 18-year-old stage, so really kind of the before university, making that first big decision, and then kind of the post-university, you've got a degree. All right. Well, I'll just caveat everything I say right now with, it's obviously like in application season now. So a lot of people are hitting both of us up. My cousins included, for example, are just like reviewing CVs, and I'm reviewing CVs at work for people applying. I'm reviewing CVs for people that want to apply, all of that good stuff. So both of us get a good insight into this. For the 18-year-old, that's a really tricky question. I think it's an easier question for the 22-year-old because at least they've set out a path of, I've gone to uni. For the 18-year-old, the world's your oyster, right? But let's say the 18-year-old is interested in studying at university. If you're interested in studying university, I think, and you know, this isn't hard and fast rule, but for me, this is what kind of I've seen the people that have been successful over the last 5 years or 10 years have done. Study something in STEM. And the reason I say that is the stuff you learn, the knowledge you acquire at university in those fields, science, technology, you know, mathematics, engineering, those types of subjects are extremely well utilized in all of the spaces you talked about. Tech, finance, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. That intersection is always going to need people like engineers. It's always going to need people that think like mathematicians, etc., logical people. And those are difficult courses. So if you can complete those courses, it shows resilience. So that's my first thing. If you're an 18-year-old, go into that field. The second thing I'd say as an 18-year-old is start doing stuff on the side. Mm-hmm. If it's selling sneakers online, trainers. If it's selling anything online. If it's investing in the stock market, in index funds and stuff.
Building an app.
Literally anything. Whatever you want to do it soon and do it, like really put yourself into that market immediately. I think those two are the key things because the compound interest you get from the knowledge you acquire by doing things early is like unfathomable. It's insane. And then the knowledge you gain from the more traditional university route is going to set you up in the long term. So those are my two things for an 18-year-old. What are your two things for the 18-year-old?
So 18-year-old, 100% agree. I was going to say it even before you. Study a STEM. Which STEM? Look, follow your curiosity. Don't really listen to two guys on the internet, which is the first thing I would say to you, and we have nothing to sell you.
Yeah.
But if I were you, obviously you did economics undergrad, I did economics and finance undergrad. I then carried on masters, just straight finance. Well, it was more financial engineering, and the undergrad was a sort of mathematical economics concentration and finance. But basically, we're both, yes, it had an element of math to it, and they're both Bachelor of Science degrees. They're pretty quantitative, but it's not a true STEM degree.
Yeah, exactly.
And the reason we did that is because, well, this was 10 years ago. The thing to do was to go into finance because you have the pound signs in your eyes as a young teen back then, or sort of a young grad or whatever. And it was a thing you do, and it's what we wanted to do at the time, and I enjoyed it at the time. If I were to do it over again, what I advise people, do a straight STEM. The best STEM degrees, in my opinion, what I advise younger family, friends or cousins or whatever. Physics. Paul Graham agrees with this. Naval agrees with this. Quite a few other people in the Valley agree with this as well. Why? Because it teaches you a way of thinking, especially when it comes to problem solving and just how you can apply yourself to the wider world and the wider problems at hand, especially in business. But business is just a very small part of it. Physics, electrical engineering has always been the big one because a component of electrical engineering is computer science. So in the US, they have EECS degrees, which is electrical engineering and computer science. In the UK, EE does include CS modules as well, which you can select as optionals. And of course, computer science, which is where the future is going. Of course, if there was a degree that combined physics, electrical engineering, and CS, and a bit of maths, great. I guess that's all the STEMs covered in one.
Yeah, I mean, that 3 years or 4 years in the US here at university is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, but look, if you do an undergrad electrical engineering, masters in computer science, there's a lot of master's degrees you can do in 1 year, especially in the UK. If it's undergrad physics and then computer science, great. I think there's a trend recently where people recommend don't do computer science, do machine learning. And I agree to an extent, but I don't overall, and I may be wrong. And I know people who do either CS or ML. The reason being is because, like 20 years ago, the trend was like people would have PhDs in artificial intelligence. Now, 5 years ago, I think we've said this before, it was blockchain. Now it's machine learning. While I do think machine learning will actually last it's here to stay pretty much, unlike, well, some of the previous others have been here to stay as well. But machine learning, given the focus on data in the future, yes, it's important. But machine learning is a branch of computer science, really, when you look at it when you zoom out. So master the foundations first, the fundamentals. You could do a master's in computer science. You can pick up machine learning outside from external courses, or even a PhD if that's your thing. Or undergrad computer science, master's machine learning. Or you don't even have to study computer science. You could do physics, undergrad, and then master's machine learning, whatever. Anyway, stick to the STEM, stick to the fundamentals, stick to core academic subjects, and it has to be those STEM subjects, in my opinion. Anything that's really truly STEM, that's my advice to the 18-year-old.
We have very similar opinions, and we didn't even go through beforehand what we were going to say on this.
And none of us are from true STEM backgrounds.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, I think this is telling the viewer that realistically, these are good backgrounds to go from people that aren't from these backgrounds.
Yeah.
What I would say is pick a degree that will teach you how to think from a first principles perspective. STEM allows you to do that. Economics, to some extent, gets you there, but doesn't get you all the way there because it doesn't get you to the fundamental. Yeah, exactly.
Not macro BS. Microeconomics is good. Econometrics is good. Statistics, all of that stuff. Macro is complete BS. So yeah, I'll save people from that. To the 22-year-old, now, if you have come out of uni and you've not studied STEM, don't worry. We didn't study STEM. A lot of other people didn't study STEM. Paul Graham, for example, I think his undergrad was in philosophy. But that's a good one. But then he got a master's in computer science.
Exactly, yeah.
So those two actually go great together. Exactly. It's amazing. Look, if you're 22, you haven't done STEM, don't worry. Whether you have or you haven't, the question is, should I go into VC? I actually had a call with a chap. I just love hopping, despite the extremely busy diary and schedule, I love to help where I can because people have helped me in the past and you have to pay it forward. So this guy did engineering at UCL, undergraduate. So for American listeners, UCL is basically like a UK G5 uni, which is like the UK Ivy League kind of top 5 unis. He did undergrad mechanical engineering. Now he's doing a master's in computer science with machine learning or something. Really smart guy, of course. He's saying, look, I'd love this whole VC thing. I want to get into it. How do I get into it? And I said to him, I think you should take a step back. Do you want to become a VC? Or I was like, look, traditionally to become a VC, and we may have said this before, traditionally it's kind of like investment banking or when I went into banking or you went into consulting, it's very your box checking through life. So it would have been, you come out of university or college, you then do your 3 years at McKinsey or 3 years at Goldman, then you do 2 years Harvard MBA, whatever, and then you go and become a VC somewhere or something along those lines. That's usually the traditional box checking path.
Yeah.
Nowadays, as we've covered in like some other episodes, I'm pretty sure, with all the democratization going on in the space, the future is the future of the operators. What does operator mean to someone who's young and it just sounds like jargon? An operator is someone who has been either an early employee of a tech startup that's grown to be humongous, or has been a founding member of the team, or a co-founder or a founder, basically.
Yeah.
Why? Because for you to have operated a business, it means that, let me take a step back actually. A lot of these people, like let's say right now we're seeing the launch of rolling funds and micro VCs. A lot of these people have exited tech companies for huge amounts and now they're deploying that capital to help literally pay it forward to help other startups while obviously earning something themselves as a return. Now, these people are doing this because they have experience in how to operate a startup. When they invest in a startup, they have value to add on an advisory basis, here, you shouldn't make this mistake, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. They have the technical know-how, they have the go-to market knowledge, the product, whatever. There's many different areas in which they can add value in. Whereas if you're just box checking through life, that traditional model, firstly, in my opinion, is on the way out over the next decade. Secondly, it doesn't give you resilience. Thirdly, the real way to be successful is just to take the hard path. And as absurd as that sounds to some people, especially our generation, people younger than us, who, in my opinion, you laugh when I say this, most people our age and younger than us are snowflakes, because they've been brought up very, very comfortable. Like people talk about, this is tough, or I don't want to do that, or that's a struggle. Do you know what's tough? Literally being in the mountains of, for example, in Afghanistan, getting your head blown off. That's a real tough life. Yeah. Or being in Africa and not having clean water. Like that's a tough, and having to walk, 20 kilometers to go and get your family somewhat cleaner water, but still not clean. So I think people who are in the Western world, especially basically majority of our listeners, I think you're very privileged. I'm privileged. We're all very privileged. So look, don't look at just instant returns. What we've both studied from, I think, look, all of you go and study Charlie Munger, read his book, because he teaches you the importance of long-termism and, well, to be rational, as
the name suggests.
So I think don't rush into these things. To become a VC, you don't have to be an operator first, but I highly suggest you become an operator first. And we know great VCs who are never operators, fine. But the majority, in my opinion, become an operator, gain the operating experience, and then become a VC later in your life. There's no rush. Like, I think it's a lot more fun to build companies, or if you don't want to build one, you can join as an early employee of a startup. Or even a company that's just done a Series A where they're backed by a big VC. They've got 50 employees. You know that they're going to grow like this. It's literally no risk. I think there's less risk. There was a tweet on this that went viral recently, that there's less risk joining a company like that versus a big corporate. So my point being, let me bring it back because I'm kind of all over the place right now. My point being, don't take my word for it, but this is what I would do if I were 22, just come out of uni. I would gain operating experience. I would join a high growth startup. There's actually a Naval article on this, which hits the nail on the head from my experience and others that I've spoken to. The most important thing is the startup you join, it has to be the people, the most important factor. Yes, the product and the market size and all of these things are important. The most important thing are the people, because 20 years down the line, the guy who's sitting across the desk from you will probably launch his own company.
Yeah.
And then he'll say, hey, do you want to come over and be a CTO for my company, for example? Or do you want to be head of product for my company? And I was very close-minded when I was in banking before I got into the tech scene more. But the more I've been in the tech scene, everything that comes about is really through relationships, through WhatsApp, through contacts, through, hey, you should speak to Cyrus because he has experience doing this. Oh, hey, would you like to advise our company? Or hey, like we'll pay you for just to consult us for the just like the whole industry works like this. It's who you know and contacts. So, and where do good contacts come from? It's as cliche as it sounds. You become the average of the people you spend the most time with. You want to be around future winners. So put yourself around people. Yes, you are kind of betting on who's going to be winners when you're all in your 20s, but just look at their track record to date. Like what kind of universities do they go to? What kind of people are they like when I hang out with them? What are their interests? What are their aims in life? What are their goals? What have they achieved so far? So join a company where you know the people are going to be winners, i.e. when someone would join PayPal in the early days, you're literally led by the quote unquote PayPal mafia, who are some of the biggest names literally in the history of technology and business. So you want to look for a company where you have access to great team, because that's gonna relationships compound. As literally it's on our website. Yeah. There's a photo of me and Iman as kids, if it's still up by the time you're listening to this, which the quote says, relationships like everything else compound in life. So join the right team, become an operator first, and save the aspiration to be a VC for later on in life. To be honest, with the democratization that's going on in the space, rolling funds and all of this stuff, you probably in 10, 20 years, once you've gained operating experience, you probably won't even want to be a VC because you would have gained enough credibility to set up your own rolling fund or something with less bureaucracy and headache and people that you report to and stuff like that. And more independence and happiness and a better network.
I will say what you said, but in 1/3 of the words.
Okay.
So what I think you should do at 22 years old are, you have 3 options for me. You either join a corporate, and I don't think a corporate is a bad thing. I think you learn a lot, and I think the pace at which you learn is good for the first couple of years. That's number 1. And it gives you a good network of people that you could leverage in the future. Number 2 is, as you say, join a high growth startup. It doesn't even have to be high growth. Join a startup. I think just joining a startup shows you how business works from the offset. It shows you how business scales and puts you in touch with that network that you spoke about, and that network effect enables you to then leverage those people in the future and understand how funding works. The third option is go and start your own thing. This is for me, the option that you should try first out of those 3. The reason you should try your own thing is because if you take the risk, it's cliche, but take the risk when you're young, the negative or the downside risk is lower. You've got less problems with in terms of having a family to support, etc. And what's key about that point is starting your own business at a young age enables you to learn at a pace that you would not gain if you worked in corporate or if you worked for a startup. You have so much more accountability, and you need to keep a roof over your head. So if you want to be paying for things in your life, you need to make it work. So out of those 3 options, I'd say think about business opportunities and being an operator, as you said. If you can't think of anything, or if what you build fails pretty quickly, either try again or move on to a high growth startup. If you can't find a high growth startup, find a team that is working in a startup that you might not agree with the mission, vision and values, but there's a good team. Number 3, if it all falls to shit and you can't find any of those things, apply to a corporate as a backup option. Those 3 are your options. And I think that's the core of what you were getting at.
Yeah, I mean, look, me and you come from corporate backgrounds. I moved on from corporate. I agree to an extent that corporate does give you valuable skills in terms of being polished, being more commercial, not really business minded, but just being more commercial and professional, and being really good at Excel and PowerPoint, which is what corporate is really a factory for. Not just that, I am playing it down a bit, but yeah, it can be good, but maybe just for a year or two, don't stay too long. But really, I wouldn't put that, I wouldn't put that on my list. I would actually I agree, number one, if it's something for you and it's not really a risk, but you're resilient enough and you're willing to go through what it takes, start your own thing. There's no better time ever. And get involved with everything tech, apply for all the incubators, find co-founders, just mingle with everyone. These days, you're literally just, if you type, like whatever it's called, you're basically a keyboard away from connecting. And I these days find some of the best relationships now that I develop through just people through the laptop screen. So leverage technology, connect with people, build a tech company. If you fail, great, you've learned. And if you don't want to do that, then I would say, yes, join a high growth tech company. Now, this is where you corrected me. You said it doesn't have to be high growth. And actually, I agree. Recently, there's a lady I came across on Twitter who, I may butcher this, I don't remember her exact background, but she recently graduated from uni, literally, I think she's 21, 22, what we're discussing. Studied computer science, but you don't have to, because you could always learn independently or do a 1-year master's or do a boot camp if you're a non-CS background. And she just graduated. I think previously she had done internships at sort of your Facebooks and your big tech companies in software engineering. Graduated from uni, could have joined a big tech company, didn't. Joined a 4-person startup. She's the 4th person. And she loves it. She deliberately did that. It completely depends on what you want. She prefers that. And I think I would too if I were her. Because she said, when I was interning in a big corporate, so much bureaucracy, and even at your fangs, there's so many processes, and you're just a cog in a wheel. You're just a small piece of a big machine. You're only working on a tiny feature. Whereas in the startup with 4 people, it's basically training you to be a future CTO. Because she said, I'm involved in the engineering process, the design process, the product process. It's like, Jesus Christ, like, what more could you ask for? And you're getting paid, and you don't actually have the same sort of risk as the founder. If this doesn't go to plan, you've picked up the most valuable skills that you can take elsewhere to any other startup or a Series A or B startup with more funding, more track record, more likelihood to succeed. And these are skills that would, it's benefit you for your whole life.
Yeah, they'll serve you for life.
They'll serve you for life. And you've basically learned how to be basically like a young CTO in a sense. So you could even go and join someone and become their co-founder. What
I would say is just one point of, if option 1 fails, option 2 fails, and you decide to go into corporate, number 1, it's not a bad thing. You'll still learn stuff. Number 2, the downside is you could become accustomed to a lifestyle. The money keeps increasing, but it's just enough to keep you on board. It's not amazing money, but it's just enough to keep you on board. The promotions keep coming in the kind of near future. And so you're kind of going up this ladder, and then it becomes more and more difficult to leave because the life you've set up for yourself improves, the quality of life improves. So you got a mortgage, you buy a house, you got a mortgage to pay off, you have kids, and you build out relationships and responsibilities from that perspective. Whatever it is, you get accustomed to a lifestyle. Or you might be like me and spend all your money on going out, going on holidays or going out over your first 2 years, and you quickly realize that actually I'm learning a whole lot of skills and I'm really enjoying this corporate role. But at the same time, what is the opportunity risk of me not doing it, right? So anyway, point is, you've got 3 clear options for me when you come out at 22 years.
You've got 3, I've got 2. I would still say don't go corporate, but I'm biased. I would say start your own or join a tech company, i.e. a startup. That's my view, because, and you have a very valid point with the whole, the lifestyle inflation, as they call it. Nassim Taleb, which we occasionally quote, says there are 2 the most dangerous things in life. One, addictive things in life. One is heroin. The other one is a monthly wage.
Yeah.
Well, look.
Taleb is his own character.
His own character. Building a company is not for everyone, but yeah, you can definitely join a startup and that's a monthly wage. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think the skills you pick up will be profound and like really helpful. But yeah, lifestyle inflation is another thing. Corporate people get really comfortable. I've seen bankers who are 40, 45, 50, multiple divorces, and they're working and just to keep up with their current lifestyle.
To maintain what they currently have.
So be very careful of that. Read Charlie Munger. Spend less than you earn. Stash away the savings. Put them into investments. If you don't know what to invest, listen to us. If we still confuse you, hopefully not, given our intention. Or if you just don't want to listen to us, fine. Just put it in an index fund and let it compound and watch that money grow in like 30 years. That's it. Simple.
One thing I'd add to that is when you start making money at a young age, use that money wisely when you do spend it. So travel. Like, it doesn't matter how much, like, go and travel, go to other countries, see how other cultures work and how other people live. And spend your money on experiences, which a lot of people our generation now do. Spend your money on books and put your money into investments that are longer term.
But travel and experiences for a year or two, or just if you can, take out 6 months, 9 months, or a year, go and travel the world, because it will actually, I see it as an investment. It will yield results in terms of the person you become, the character.
Broadens your horizons in terms of thinking.
Long term it will exactly that. So, but just a max for a year or two, but don't go living the champagne lifestyle beyond the 1 or 2 years max, because compounding growth, if you don't believe me, for some of you, go to Google. There's a lot of these compound growth calculators. Put in the difference of you starting to compound your savings from your wage from the age of 24 compared to if you were to start doing it, like, let's say, age 28. It's insane. I mean, one of the reasons Warren Buffett is where he's at compared to Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger says himself, because I started way later than Warren, that's the only reason. And Munger's net worth is 1.5 to 2 billion, I believe. Buffett's is, I think, well over 80 billion, just because he started, I don't know how much.
14 years old he started?
Well, we can get into that. That would open a whole new can of worms. But basically, he started earlier. So the point being, and there are different graphs that show if you just started 3 years earlier or 4 years earlier. So have fun for a year or two, and then after that, and this is what we've learned from experience, what we've seen mistakes in others, especially. So yeah, but bringing it back, the future, the best VCs will be those that are either technical or have been operators themselves. Operator as in they've exited a business, they've been a founder, or they've been an early employee in a tech business that's grown and they've led a whole function within that business. So yeah, that's our advice. Don't rush into it. Don't become a VC right now. Like, I don't know what else to say. And also, finally, becoming a VC, the other way in that it's changed, other than rolling fund, and it's being democratized and it's more operators now and micro VCs, etc. The other way that it's changed is that it just slipped my mind.
What I would say is, if you have any questions, or you want to understand more about the space, or you just want to have a chat, you should reach out to us, because I think it's a good way of connecting us with people that are kind of in the space and want to learn more, and kind of people at the crossroads of decision making in their lives, and also connecting us with people who could be future winners, and we'd love to help out people that could be in that situation.
Yeah, this whole space is driven by your network, who you know, being a nice person, working super hard and developing a great network and having fun along the way. So I still haven't remembered my point, and it's really annoyed me because it was an extremely valuable point.
Every point you make is extremely valuable, at least to you.
Give me 10 seconds. I think what I was trying to get at is that, yes, VC, this is what I was trying to get at. Yes.
Oh, there he goes. Ding!
Ding. So marketing, VCs, it's become a game of, VC is not a technical game. So trying to get into, let's say, investment banking. I mean, even investment banking is not technical. You just need to go on an Excel course and know your financial statements. It's 3 months of intense work, and you know it. You can teach it to a monkey. And literally, there are a lot of bankers that I know that agree with me. But point being, being a banker is, let's say, somewhat technical. Being a VC is not technical in that sense. being a VC is a game of marketing and sales.
Yeah.
It's not a game of technicality. What does that even mean? Because when you're a VC, you're investing in companies that are at an early stage. Yes, there's some quantitative element. You're looking at some metrics and KPIs, but beyond that, really, there's no rocket science to it. You're kind of betting on the people. It's the mental models you use to understand them. We've said the analogy before. It's like a dartboard. You throw 20, maybe one or two of them stick. They make up for the losses on the other 18 that fall off. So really, it's a game of the access that you have, as in the pipeline, the network you have, how good you are at marketing yourself, your brand, your personal brand, your image, etc. So it's not a game of you're going to go there, sit there and Excel model necessarily. No, not really. It's just a game of, I can't remember the chap's name. I think I saw it on LinkedIn a while ago, but someone who is in their mid to late 20s became a partner at Sequoia. Because when they were at uni, they launched this thing that helps startups grow, essentially, and they're still involved even when they were working in their 20s.
What, a startup accelerator?
Yeah, it's like a startup accelerator for uni students in London.
Oh,
So
right, sick.
something like that is basically you have access to a pipeline. What is a pipeline? Well, the brightest minds from the best unis in London, those students always building side projects and startups, and you have access to them because you run literally the accelerator that you created when you were a student for them, and you've carried it on even when you're not a student with co-founders. So it's something like that. Having a podcast, like writing weekly newsletters, having a Substack, putting out interesting thoughts on Twitter, just anything to do. It's not one of these things. It's not any of these things, and you don't have to do any or all of them. But really, it's about how are you putting yourself out there. Because being a VC is really a game of marketing and sales. It fundamentally comes down to your contacts and pipeline, and the sort of companies that you have access to. Because a VC firm, think about it from their perspective. Why would they hire you? Well, you have access to a lot of amazing talents or talented entrepreneurs or startups that then they can access through you. It's very simple. That's all it is. So in future, the best VCs will always have a great contact network, pipeline, etc., and personal brand image. But in the future, also, yes, they'll have operating experience, and some of them will be some already are technical, but in the future, more technical guys will be founders. More technical guys will be VCs. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. Don't be in a rush to be a VC. The game's changing. There's democratization. Go get operating experience. Take some risks in your 20s. If you're older, my personal opinion, well, we've already mentioned a million times, go read Charlie Munger, but if you're a bit older, go read Naval. Learn to build, learn to sell.
Yeah.
You've probably learned one of the two in your 20s. If not, still fine, no worries. Just get more experience. Learning to build could be software engineering, could be product management in a sense, anything to do with building a company, and selling, obviously, as the name suggests, because I feel like the two fundamental revenue drivers of any tech company really is the engineering team that builds and the sales team / biz dev that sells.
Yeah.
So you either build or you sell, and this is no disrespect to any other functions. Without the other functions, those two functions wouldn't be able to get to where they are. So it's a collective effort. But if you really want to make an impact and you're in your early 20s, pick one of the two. Either learn to build, i.e. engineering side, software engineering, or learn to sell, i.e. business development side, commercial side. If you can do both or somehow fit the two in your career, you'll probably be a unicorn. Not necessarily.
You've heard it here. You'll be a unicorn if you can do those things. So go and do those things, and you'll be a unicorn.
Not necessarily a unicorn, but what I'm trying to get at is you'd be it's an interesting use of terms I have today, but you'd be a very valuable member of the tech community, basically, and a go-to person. So yeah.
It's really easy. Just go and take risks.
Is there anything else?
Not really. No. I mean, don't forget to have fun as well in your 20s.
Of course. Don't forget to have fun.
Everything we've said is so serious and like scary in a bit in a way.
Follow your curiosity, for example, if you're interested in and like to your point, take risk is like it's not really taking risk if you're joining a startup. It's giving you a salary and you're building fundamental skills that if the startup goes under, you can take those skills to another startup and you're backed up by a degree. even some people don't even have a degree nowadays with the whole movements of anti-uni. Some people.
Fair enough.
Just get valuable skills. Become specialised in something. Get valuable skills.
And do it in something that you enjoy or you think you'd enjoy.
Yeah.
Because you're more likely to stick to it if you do enjoy it.
And I genuinely don't know these guys. I think I've already mentioned them in another podcast before. Plug, and we're not sponsored by them, but it's just a website I find amazing, is 80,000hours.org.
I knew you were going to say that.
So these guys, check out 80,000hours.org. It's literally 8 with a bunch of zeros.org. These guys give insane advice in terms of, especially if you're in your early 20s and you're trying to find your way through the world, in terms of impactful careers that can also pay well, because one thing you'll realize is that if you start earning really well after a few years, you may feel empty and have this existential crisis that a lot of people in their late 20s go through, which is, I'm earning lots of money, but now what about saving the world or impacting the world? I would say get the money first, as many other people in the Valley would probably say as well. First take care of yourself and then think about saving the world. So 80,000 hours suggests do not start your career in non-profits. I agree.
There's someone else who says this. I think it's Taleb in either Anti-Fragile or Skin in the Game, where he says, when people come to me and say that they want to save the world, or young people, I tell them to take bounded risk, start a business and impress your opinion into the world. And then if you, and to the other point you raised, which is if you can't do that, then go and make some money to then impress that.
If you haven't realised, I've said this before, I'm pro-capitalism, big time capitalist. I love capitalism. I should probably have a t-shirt. Rational VC t-shirt. But the reason being because holding up signs and protesting and screaming and shouting for change, that's not going to do much. Whereas if you build a business, 1, you're paying taxes through the business. 2, you employ people through the business. 3, with the profits, you can, as 80,000 hours suggests, you can earn to give as well. And beyond that, in the future, then you can think about saving the world, and with actual money that you can deploy to real causes, i.e. Bill Gates being the perfect example. That there was a tweet not long ago saying, can you imagine that this guy has all these conspiracy? Can you imagine you've done all of this for the world, yet all these conspiracy theorists bash you? I love Bill Gates, and people need to
put some respect on his name.
I don't think we could have ended it any better. Put some respect on Bill's name. Respect with no T. With a K. So I think that's basically, we've touched on as much as we could remember to touch on. If there's anything else, as Iman said, reach out to us. If we don't respond instantly, we'll respond eventually, or we'll respond basically.
Make it brief. Literally just put in the header of the email, I need some support. Please text me on this number, and link me your LinkedIn, and then it's kind of sort of.
And as we said earlier, this space is nothing without people helping each other. That's how it works anyway, naturally. People taking people to other companies with them, hitting up people, making recommendations, mutual friends, etc. So just have fun. If, for example, you're passionate about making an impact in the world, for example, in the health space, you can join a for-profit health tech company, build some fundamental skills and make some money, and then you can go and think about somehow impacting the world in a more direct way. That's an example. Anyway, I think we've talked enough. There's hopefully some stuff that
some options to consider.
Anything else you want to add?
That's it, man.
Awesome. So that's it. If you've got any feedback for us, let us know. Otherwise, tune in, subscribe, enjoy, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.